Good morning. Welcome to this week's All Employee Environment and Safety Brief. For many reasons, I'm looking forward to a new year. We've got an opportunity ahead of us to do some really great things in 2018, and I'm really hoping that we spend a lot of that time on our safety program and improve what our record of hurting people is. In the past in 6 months, we'll celebrate the 20th anniversary of the merger between Cenex and Harvest States, and we've accomplished quite a few things in that 20 years, and it's a little hard to believe it's already been 20 years, but that'll be a major milestone for us, and I do know that as we go forward, we're going to do this with the greatest owners and employees possible. Okay, this week's highlights. We had a grain dust explosion last week on Thursday at the LB Pork of Northrop elevator in Northrop, Minnesota. And then that happened later in the day on Thursday, and then Friday morning the elevator flashed up with a fire and burned pretty much through the day on Friday. Good reminder that we need to keep our facilities clean. We need to make sure that our ignition sources are kept in control. Our preventative maintenance is done at our facilities, whether it's grain, energy, fertilizer operations, it doesn't really matter. We just got to take care of them so we don't end up going through a major crisis like this one. The other thing that happened last week that was kind of interesting is OSHA showed up at our Yuma grain facility the day after Christmas. We think it was related to an employee issue, but it does show us that inspectors can show up at any time at any one of our facilities, and we need to be ready. And actually, we really need to be safe every day. So it doesn't matter when the inspector shows up. Is every day your facility needs to be safe, and regardless of how hard we're working and how much the facility's being pushed, safety's got to come first on that. Then, end of last week, we had the underground storage tank proof of financial responsibility was sent out, and this is a document that helps us prove that we have the resources available in the event of underground storage tank releases. And it was sent out by the corporate compliance on the 29th, which is a little bit behind what they normally do. It's due by the end of the year, so we're well within the due dates. But for licensing and permitting going into next year, it's been sent to all the energy managers, and it's available on Intelex. And if you have any issues with license and permitting, let me know. Hours of service issues keep coming up, and we're in the process of installing electronic logging devices in our vehicles that need to be logging for hours of service. This is a DOT issue, and we've got a variety of exemptions that as an industry we're allowed to use. One is a 150-mile radius for agricultural product delivery, agricultural commodities, and that allows us to haul grain, haul fertilizer out to the farms, and farm supplies that are needed for planting without having to follow the hours of service rules. The other one is a 100-mile radius for delivery operations that is very common in the energy business and allows us just to keep time records for employees that will return home every night. But that allows us 12 hours on duty time, and then we got to follow that by a 12-hour off-duty period. And that can be limiting in some ways when we're out delivering fuel and stuff. But basic policy is we will follow the out of service rules. We do not ever try to break the rules, and we have the tools in place to make sure we're in compliance. So if you have any questions, let us know. Okay, incidents for last week. We had 13 total incidents, which I think this was the lowest week of the year. 7 employees injured, no OSHA recordables, 4 vehicle incidents, 2 that had some fault, 1 environmental, 1 property, 1 liability, which was a slip and fall in a parking lot. That brings our year total, calendar year to date, 1,654 incidents compared to the same time last year, 1,565. That's a lot of things going wrong that we have an opportunity to get much better at. We did have some great days. Matter of fact, only Tuesday and Friday were not on our perfect day list. 22 new near miss reports came in, bringing our total for the year up to 2,809. That's a fantastic number there. And then our risk control improvements, we were at 4,272. Things that went wrong, we had delivering a load of cracked corn to a farmer while turning the driveway, misjudged the driveway and tipped the truck over on the side. Then we had a third party did a legal U-turn in front of one of our employees, causing a collision. Then we had a customer fall in a parking lot. Manager's personal vehicle was broken into. And then we had an employee trip on an item buried under snow while delivering propane, and then hit his head on a lawn tractor, causing some cuts to his forehead. Delivery in this kind of condition can be. Our near miss report came in from Jane from our CHS Farmers Alliance group in Bridgewater, South Dakota. Driving one of our company pickup trucks and noticed the hood was shaking, stopped to see if the hood was latched. It was not securely latched, and correctly pointed out that this is a problem, could have popped up. That results in broken windshields, makes the driver blind to what's in front of them. Good near miss, good catch. Thank Jane for that report. Our near miss report also came in from Marlin at our CHS Brandon group, the Marshall, Minnesota location. And I always like seeing these where the employees were actually paying attention. And so that after listening to last week's safety update, our safety environmental brief, went out and checked the ventilation system in their bathroom and found there was a considerable amount of dust that had accumulated on the fan and the housing itself, and were able to get that cleaned off, and so we didn't have a second fire in our system. So good job there, Marlon. And Eric from our CHS Ag Services group up in Warren, Minnesota, sent in this one on ice melt and slip strips and falls. During the winter season, they're always struggling to keep the sidewalks clear of ice. One of the ways they keep them clear is by using ice melt and get better distribution and basically more efficient use of the product. They went and purchased a $20 handheld fertilizer grass seed spreader, and they use that to apply their ice melt. And it's a little rough on the spreader, but it actually does a great job on getting distribution out there on your sidewalks and walk areas. Okay, I got this message last thing on Friday, and Harold Clark at our Denton, Montana location is retiring. Was just giving me notice that I can remove his name from the list, which actually goes to everyone with an email address. So they'll shut him off right away as retirement. But I do appreciate his message here, and he's just sent a simple thank you message and basically thanking us for caring enough to provide information that helps him go home safely each evening. And I'm really proud when we can send all our employees home and particularly get them through retirement without serious injury or incident. So I will miss you, Harold, and I really appreciate all of our employees' efforts to make our workplace safer. Okay, and your question for the week is last January was rough for us with lots of incidents. We started off the year just extraordinary number of incidents. Actually, December, January, and February last year were terrible. This December was much better, and I'm looking forward to going into January much better. But in order to start the new year right, because last year was rough, what are you going to do starting this week to make sure this doesn't happen again next year? And with that, thank you so much for everything you do, and I'll talk to you again next week.